So now let's move on to the other guy, the other electric lightning bolt. Some may call him the electrician, and some may still believe it's a better nickname than Sonic. But Sonic's cool for now. I'll take Sonic. So if you remember when I said that last year, we have to point to David Montgomery being out and facing a defense which isn't great. The Las Vegas Raiders, Jahmyr Gibbs went off for 152 yards. Okay, well, he had similar production yesterday versus the Chicago Bears. Jahmyr Gibbs had, excuse me. Let's see. Jahmyr Gibbs had 23 carries for 109 yards and a touchdown. And I believe he had 4 receptions for 40. Hold on. Let's see. I got the information right here. So that was 4.7 yards a carry on the ground, which is down from he averages 5.7, but he's now averaging 6.2 from scrimmage. Let's see. 4 catches for 45 yards, 11.2 yards per reception. Jahmyr Gibbs was super duper dynamic. He was over 100 yards all purpose in the first half. So Jahmyr Gibbs had 15 touches. Okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking about first half and second half. All right. So he had 27 touches. What is up, though, Lions fans? I interrupted today's video just to tell you a little bit about our sponsors. And our sponsors are none other than you, the people. If you want to become a supporter, a fan of the channel, just go ahead and scan that QR code right there on the screen. You don't have to do it, but what I would like you to do, smash that like button, subscribe, and make sure you turn on your notifications so you can get notified when the Motor City Cats are back at it. And now, let's get back to the show. Okay, he had 27 catches because he had 23 carries and he had 4 receptions. It doesn't say how many targets he had. I think he had 5 targets, I want to say, or maybe it was just 4. Maybe it was 4 for 4, but I feel like it was 5 targets. 27 touches. He produces 154 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, you remember that bet? It wasn't really a bet, right? It was an encouragement that Amon-Ra St. Brown made to him, that if you get 1,000 and 1,000, I'll buy you whatever you want. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs is planning to get a house. Now, he's not going to get that 1,000, and I believe it's simply because he's splitting carries and sharing a backfield with David Montgomery. But Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely has the capability of getting 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. Jahmyr Gibbs passed, I think he passed the 1,000-yard mark in week 14 against the Packers, right? That's the same week where Josh Jacobs broke the 1,000-yard mark, but Josh Jacobs has like 50 more carries than Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs was able to close the gap this week with 23 carries because David Montgomery is out. But he's a top 5 running back in the NFL while splitting carries, while sharing a backfield. And it was pretty equal, right? Leading up to David Montgomery going out, they were separated by like 2 carries. David Montgomery had 2 more carries than Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay. So what you're seeing right now with Jameson Williams is a guy who's coming into his own in his 3rd year. Generally, if you look at an NFL player, you see more of what he's actually going to be in his 3rd year. If he's going to be dynamic, he starts showing you signs of that in maybe year 1, year 2, but starts putting it together more frequently in year 3. If he's going to be a bust, as we say, we can't even say that anymore because obviously it depends on the situation. Look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is balling out of his mind, and it's because he got the correct system. He got in the correct system. He's bought into the system, and he's got a coach that's bought into him and believes that he can run the system and he can do the things that he's asked to do. And this is why you see him playing the way he's playing. Out of yesterday when they played the Seahawks, and we'll get to that, Sam Darnold, there were 2 interceptions thrown in that game. There were 3 New York Jets, former New York Jets quarterbacks in the building, right? Mark Sanchez was in the booth. Sam Darnold was on the field for the Vikings. Geno Smith was on the field for the Seattle Seahawks. There were 2 interceptions thrown, and only one of those former New York Jets quarterbacks threw the interceptions, and that was Geno Smith. Sam Darnold had another great performance, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. So back to the point, you start to see things differently with different players. Now with Jahmyr Gibbs, you recognize from the first game that he was dynamic. You recognize in that game against the Chiefs where he was supposed to be this guy that was, a slider frame, and he wasn't supposed to be able to run through the tackles and all these things. And when he puts his shoulder down and spins off of a guy to get a crucial first down in the game against the Chiefs, which we won 21-20 on opening day last season, you knew he was special already. So much so that you were starting to get annoyed with Ben Johnson for not using Jahmyr Gibbs more, especially in the first few games of the season where it looked like his load was not it wasn't what you wanted to see, right? And now we see Jahmyr Gibbs break out once again. If there's any cold water to pour on it, because there's not, if I'm going to nitpick just a little bit, I'm going to say you saw him be the lead back against the Raiders last season and the Bears this season. Both teams have defenses that are not great. The Bears have more talent on their defenses. They have the players, right? But those players are in Cancun mentally. But that's not Jahmyr Gibbs' fault. You play who's on your schedule. You play who's in front of you. And they didn't have any answers for Jahmyr. 4.7 yards a carry, while that's lower than his average, it's still close to 5 yards a carry. Right? If you give him the ball 2 times, that means you've picked up 9.4 yards. So, it's now 3rd and a half a yard, or 3rd in inches as they call it. So even with David Montgomery going down, and even with this and that and the third thing, it's like, man, when you have an offense which is full of the weapons that we have, Sam LaPorta has taken a step back this season as far as how he has been implemented into the offense. But, he still had a tutty this game. We're going to talk about that. Amon-Ra St. Brown You feel like his numbers aren't that flashy this season, but he's over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Again, right? You got Tim Patrick, who has emerged as a great option as a third wide receiver. You got Jameson Williams, who's knocking on the door of 1,000 yards, and I think that they're going to purposely get him 1,000 yards. They're going to try to feed him. Now, when you're coming up against a team like the San Francisco 49ers, who have been eliminated, we don't know what they're playing for. But that can be a dangerous team, because I feel like Baker Mayfield and the Bucs went into Dallas last night feeling the same way. Oh, this team is eliminated. We're just going to do what, we're going to come in and play our brand of football. We're not going to worry about anything, and we're going to walk out here winners, because every time I come to Jerry's World, I win. Well, you lost. And now with that loss, not San Francisco, but Tampa Bay is on the outside looking in. They don't control their destiny. They have to depend on the Falcons to lose in order for them to get into the playoffs. And that is what that is. They've got the new quarterback bump. I don't know that they beat Washington. Should be a great game, though. Shout out Washington Commanders for doing us a solid. Seattle couldn't, though. But anyway, so with all these things that you have, all these moving pieces and these different parts and the cogs in the machine, it's a special team. And that's the thing that we have to look at. And that's the thing as Detroit Lions fans that we are hanging our hats on. And this is why we're talking about Super Bowl. Even with all of the injuries, we understand how special this team is. We understand how special this offense is. Right now, the defense ain't all that special. Right? So, Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm not calling for him to be the number one back and to get rid of David Montgomery and all these things, but Jahmyr Gibbs is a number one running back in this league. Jahmyr Gibbs is already a top 5 running back splitting carries. Jahmyr Gibbs could be in the in the conversation for best running back in the league. If you listen to me. I'm not saying that Philadelphia has a better offensive line than the Detroit Lions. We know that the Detroit Lions have the number one line in football. The scheme that they're running in Philadelphia, if you changed out Jahmyr Gibbs for Saquon Barkley, I believe that Jahmyr Gibbs already would have broken Eric Dickerson's record. I don't think that he would need the last 2 games to do it. And the reason I say this is because Saquon Barkley leads the league in 10-plus yard touchdowns untouched. He has 8 of them, I believe, untouched. How many do you think Jahmyr Gibbs would have behind or in that scheme? We just don't run the same scheme. Right? And we also don't play in the same division. The 70-yarder that Saquon had, or this was it 66 yards that he had, nobody touched him. Not a single Washington Commander got a finger on Saquon Barkley. So, Saquon's fast. Jahmyr Gibbs is faster. I would say Saquon is probably more explosive just from a power standpoint. But if you're getting Jahmyr Gibbs into the second level without being touched so many times, I think there's going to be a whole lot more house calls. I think there's going to be more 70, 80-yard runs. I think it's going to be all of that. I think he has a game where he rushes for 300 yards. I think Saquon Barkley went for 250 or something like that versus somebody. Who was it? Some team that has a bad rush defense. But I just think that I think that highly of Jahmyr Gibbs. So If you came for all the stats and none of the static, if you're trying to keep your Lions news pragmatic, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can get notified when the Motor City Cats are back at it. And plus, you know you can't get enough of the victory buffs.